This is video 6 of 101. This video is a cooking introduction. As we already know, cooking is a very important part to being a human, and it's a very important part to being healthy as well and getting the most out of our food. Cooking is a pretty incredible thing. Essentially what we're doing is combining ingredients and having chemical reactions happen that's going to change the structure of these ingredients and changing the flavors and their textures. And it's actually way simpler than it sounds. Another amazing thing about cooking, we have hundreds of ingredients. There are so many varieties of cooking: in pot cooking, over fire, using air and leavening things, using fermentation processes, using certain mixing and chopping techniques to bring out certain textures in food. And within those hundreds of ingredient options, there are thousands of combinations that you can create with hundreds more techniques to create even more options out there. So virtually, it's limitless. The next 13 videos are going to be about the most basic cooking techniques that there are, giving a rundown of certain appliances, certain tools, things that you might want to consider purchasing. You don't have to purchase anything. This is just an educational resource so you can know ovens versus microwaves. You can know how to chop food quickly and properly. You know how to prepare food ahead of time so when you come home from work you're not starving and end up eating something unhealthy. I want to quickly talk about the really cool kinds of different cooking that there is, and I'm going to show you guys some clips from a documentary called Cooked by Michael Pollan. He wrote a book called Cooked, and then he created this beautiful documentary series on Netflix, so I'm going to link both things down below. I think the one thing about this documentary series that really got me excited was the bread part. And we know a lot about gluten and we know a lot about bread, and I'm going to do a whole video about this later on, but watching this process of literally combining flour and water and making a dough out of it and letting it sit and letting it ferment and letting yeast naturally enter the dough and naturally create these air pockets that are going to raise the bread when it is heated. Another really amazing cooking technique is pot cooking, and that is as simple as it sounds. Getting a pot and throwing all your ingredients in and letting them sit and letting those flavors soak into the waters and combine and mix and grow with all the other flavors in there, and to create something very complex and delicious. Pot cooking is something that dates back thousands of years to when we discovered and creating bowl-like structures, and that's when we started to use pot cooking, and that's when we started to be able to experiment and create complex flavors. It's a pretty incredible process how far we've come from that. It's a little ironic that we need to be going back to that to feel healthy again, but pot cooking and bread leavening and fire cooking are some of the most ancient techniques that we have. Just because we're modern humans doesn't mean that our internal systems have become modernized. They'll work on the inside the same way we have for past couple thousands of years now. So why are we changing what we're putting into our body if our bodies are still the same kind of bodies that they've always been?